Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am Asaph Adonai, your host. Once again, we're on our Lawrence Welk set. And for those who don't know, this show is just a fun little delightful show where I just talk to people, I invite a guest, and I play the piano. So on my left, we have Teresa here. And then, of course, our hostess, Patty Reed. She's been gone for a while. She's back.
Hostess with the mostest.
And we have our mascot, Pee Wee, here. It's good to see her again. We missed you guys a couple of weeks there.
The birds turned my house to a tree house.
Okay.
So they're officially moved in between the roof and the main part.
Uh-huh.
And so all the windows are new now and we got things done. We're still working on the guardrail.
All right.
Lovely county.
And on my right, we have affectionately, our aging rocker, Emmett. Mm-hmm. He's been joining us lately. He's done his television show for 20 years, and now he's retired from that, so he's just joining us, and it's good to keep him in front of the camera. Today I want to do more physical playing because the piano has finally been fixed. So let's have fun
it was beamed down and fixed.
Let's have fun with Paul Simon.
Oh yeah. Decided what they want to be for Halloween.
I'm going to be Cheech Marin.
No, I'm not going to be anything really.
I'm going to be a rich redheaded.
50 ways to leave your love.
I'm going to have big red earrings on and a mask. And I got a wig and everything, so I'm going to be more in-house redhead. That's very well. I like Halloween because it's the only time you can actually be anything you want other than yourself. And you can use that as an excuse, it's legit.
And there's candy and no presents and no pressure.
Yeah. Just pretend your whole day through. Just get yourself free.
You know this song, Emmett?
No, I never heard of it. No,
it's called 50 Ways to Live Your Life. Let's do it again. Now the verse again.
Sing. You're the singer.
There must be 50 ways to leave your lover. 50 ways to leave your lover.
The name sounds familiar. I think I saw that title on Easy Listening 947, but yeah.
50 ways to leave your lover. 50 ways to leave your lover. Just about the back, Jack. Make a little plan, Sam. Oh, baby, Roy. Just listen to me.
Get on the bus, just.
Don't you discuss much. Just jump off the key and get yourself free.
That's a new song in my repertoire, that version.
Oh,
And how
really
that
good.
version came about, I recently got the Carol Burnett show in its entirety. You know how usually when they have shows, they have excerpts?
Yep.
Well, I found a DVD where it's the entire show in order from the time she interviewed the audience at the beginning. And there I have 3 episodes. In one of those episodes, Dinah Shore was on there. She was singing that song, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Yeah. And so I decided I'm going to put that song in my repertoire.
That might be educational for a lot of guys.
Well, her version of that song was really interesting. It was more of a jazz version. You'll see it later on today. If you stop by, I'll show it to you. It's on the Carol Burnett show with Dinah Shore.
Asaph's going to cook me dinner.
And speaking of Dinah
Maybe you can catch a
Shore,
ride with me.
yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Dinah Shore, I got to play with her once years ago.
Oh, there you go.
Well, see, for the people that's watching this show that may not remember, Dinah Shore was a famous singer of the past, very famous
And then
singer.
she got a talk show.
And then she had her talk show when she was a little bit older. And I used to play for a group called Pat Giddery and the High Rollers when I was in Las Vegas. And we did a performance in Monterey, California for suicide prevention. And Dinah Shore was the guest. And so that's how I got that opportunity to play with her in the background. And I remember when she was singing, she always sounded great. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm up here playing with Dinah Shore, of all people.
You don't wanna-
That was one of the coolest opportunities I ever got,
Cool.
was to actually play. This was in Monterey, California years ago. It was about maybe 30 years ago or
Yeah.
more.
How can you pick the coolest time?
Well, I had no control over that. I mean, I didn't know that when we were going to go to Monterey to do this performance that Dinah Shore was going to be the featured singer.
That was
And
cool.
so that's how I
cool.
got that
You're
opportunity.
an unknown celebrity. We just know this. You just don't like to tell everything.
Well, I don't know.
Undercover, he's undercover.
But that was one of the best performances I ever got to do with Dinah Shore. And the Beach Boys were in that show too.
Oh my God.
And they sounded really good. They were doing all their songs like Surfing
I'm
USA and Barbara Ann. Let's see if I can figure it out. Let me try it again. Something like that.
We're bobbing.
But yeah, first we went on first because we weren't quite as known as the Beach Boys. Well, Pat Guidry was known. He was our band leader at that time. And so we went on, did our thing, and then the Beach Boys came on second. And of course they say the best for last, Dinah Shore. And like I mentioned, I wound up getting to play with this lady, and I was like, oh, this is way cool. This is like half-past cool. So I think I was like
It was
maybe...
a sign.
I might have been in my early 30s at that time when that happened. Because my birthday's coming up next week.
Happy birthday.
Yes. October 26th, I'm going to play Happy Birthday to Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that before I play for me. I always do it for everybody else.
ASAP.
I know Marilyn Monroe's part.
Oh yeah. Happy birthday, Mr.
Happy
President.
birthday, ASAP. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear ASAP.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, this is about the closest I'll
Yeah.
have Marilyn Monroe sing Happy Birthday to Me, since you're
Yes,
blonde.
I'm a
you know.
sunburnt redhead
You're
blonde.
blonde.
I'm a
Call you
blonde.
Blondie.
I'm a sunburnt blonde.
Yeah.
Well, I think briefly before I'd just like to say a brief prayer for the food. Thank you, O
Great.
God, for this wonderful food and time together in Jesus' name.
Thank you. So the food's blessed. And again, I'm going to plug the Missoula Senior Center. Ladies and gentlemen, our food has been provided lately by the Missoula Senior Center, Michelle and Roberta and the whole gang. So hello everybody out there
Hi,
from
girls.
TV land out there at the Missoula Senior Center. Thanks for providing this food
Get cooking.
for Asaph Cafe. So yeah, I want to give them a little plug, you know.
Absolutely.
So if you're in that neck of the woods, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and have lunch and
Them ladies
Stuff.
there are really
yeah,
cooking.
really good
And
food.
it's
So.
reasonably priced.
Yes.
All I can say is them women really get cooking.
A spinning dryer, spin around in the spinning dryer. That is what we like to do.
Pretty song. Santa Lucia.
Yes. Yep. Didn't know what it was. Yeah, I've heard it before. You played it before.
Pretty soon you can get couches in and it looks like everybody's lounging because they get tired from eating. And
Wear your pajamas.
yeah, pajama day at Asaph Cafe.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to my birthday, I turn 57 next week.
You're a
October
youngster.
26th, I will be 57 years old.
And what do you want for your birthday?
I'd like to get a baby grand piano, but that's not likely to happen unless unless
of
the
you
Lord
viewers out
shines
there-
a big blessing there.
Mm-hmm.
Here, would you mind taking that? I
Oh.
don't want to put anything on the piano anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It just got fixed, and I want to honor MCAT and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you maybe put it on that table.
That's a
or
good
something.
idea.
So anyway,
Well, maybe you could have a,
let's see if anybody knows this song here.
maybe you can have a lovely lady delivery girl bring you a nice piano.
Mm-hmm.
That would be perfect for your birthday, because then you'd have a date for your birthday and a delivery of a piano.
Mm-hmm.
That would cover 2 birds with one stone.
Recognize it?
Afraid not.
It's from a Western, isn't it?
Shane. You remember Shane with Alan Ladd?
Oh, yes.
They kept playing that song. I'll do it again. They always threw that weird chord in there, but that's how it went.
I think they were testing everybody's hearing. I like those old shoes.
Well, you know how I got familiar with Shane? My birth mom was a big Alan Ladd fan, the actor that played
Okay,
Shane.
all right.
And so when they would show that Western, did you ever see Shane?
Never heard of
They
Shane.
would show
Huh.
that Western, and my birth mom used to watch that, so I used to just kind of watch it, and that's how I got familiar with Alan Ladd. And then when I got older, and I realized the plot line, and it was a great plot.
What
Had a
was the
great
plot?
Basically, the synopsis of that show, Shane is a retired gunfighter,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to go into hiding and not be known anymore.
Mhm.
So he gets a job with this homesteader, and so then the people from the old school that didn't want the homesteaders out, in that part of Wyoming, they wanted to take over and just have it like the Wild West. That forces Shane to come out of retirement as a gunfighter to protect the people.
Don't let it go
And,
that way.
and Jack Palance was the bad guy in this film. And at the end, when they square off with the gunfighter, of course Shane ends up killing the bad guy because he's really lightning quick with that gun. Even though he was retired, he was just like Chuck Connors, just lightning
Like
quick.
riding a bicycle, you don't.
Yeah, you don't lose it. Even though he was in retirement. Because, see, this bad guy had killed one of the homesteaders in the film, and he was making those people's lives miserable. They were just like just plain ordinary folks, just minding their business, farming and stuff. Homesteaders, and the bad guys just wouldn't leave him alone. And Shane was living with
Typical.
one of the families.
Typical
So
script.
it forces him out of retirement from being a gunfighter. And at the end, lightning work. He just lays
Yeah.
into Jack Palance real fast with that gun.
I want to
See,
hear.
Jack Palance liked to play the bad guy. In a
Yeah,
lot
well,
of
Jack
movies, he
Palance was
likes
a
to play
fine.
bad
He's a
guy.
fine actor. He always played these bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes that, even in Young Guns.
And so when they were about to square off at the end of the film, after Palance did all this bad stuff, Shane goes, "I heard about you." And Palance says, "What'd you hear, Shane?" Shane goes, "You're a low-down Yankee liar."
Love that
And
script.
Palance says, "Prove it." And right when Palance goes to take his gun, Shane and shot him twice, and he goes flying back. He goes flying back through the tables and everything, and it shocked everybody because Palance's character was supposed to be the fastest in the West, but he was not the fastest. Shane was quicker, even though
A lot of
Palance's
those
character was
actors
famous
did
and
their
had
own
the name.
stunts back then too.
Yeah, so it was just such a cool film. And the little boy that Shane was living with, the family, he really loved Shane. And when Shane decided it was time for him to leave, that boy was crushed. He was really crushed. And it's not because Shane was being cruel, it's just he wasn't going to be able to hide his image as the gunfighter, especially after killing the fastest bad guy in the West. That just
Well,
made him,
he was also the little boy's friend,
yeah.
so he had someone there he could just snuggle up to and tell stories to.
But-
I want to hear Patty sing Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West. See.
I don't know the words to that one.
Yeah, there weren't any words actually. There were no words. Yeah, that was a great show, but
The only
there were
one I
no
can think of
words.
that matches that is Living in the Wild Wild West.
Oh yeah,
Two
they kind of
different
did a show.
things.
Yeah, there's two.
That's
Yeah.
two different things.
That was the television show called The Wild Wild West with the actor Robert Conrad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I recently did a story on Robert Conrad in the original Wild Wild West, and the two anchors that I usually do that show with, they did not know that the Will Smith version was based on that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that the Will Smith version was just a new movie that just happened to be called Wild Wild West. I said, no, it was based on Robert Conrad's
Yeah, yeah.
performance in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And Artemus Gordon, his character was so smooth.
Yeah.
He could like just make himself up, like disguise himself really
He was a
masterfully.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was a gentleman.
Yeah, he didn't do all the fighting. Robert Conrad did the fighting, and Artemus
Yeah.
Gordon would just change his face.
Yeah, he just wanted to steal the girls.
Yeah, he would
If Robert
change
couldn't
he would
get him.
change his face and go after bad guys that way and pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah, he wanted
It was
to win
just
the
such
girl.
it was a smooth western.
Yeah, it was excellent.
And that actor that played the little guy,
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of his name in real life, but he was a bad guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was,
he'd be having all the good-looking girls around him. He's like
Well, they
3
were
feet
supposed to
tall.
be-
Dr. Lovelace.
Dr. Love, yeah, he would be just plotting stuff and
Yes.
making those
They were
people's
they were
lives
supposed to be
miserable on that
government
show.
agents back then.
Yeah, they
but
were.
He
Like the
just,
first 007.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was like 007, but in the West, 1800s.
What about Jack Nicholson in those westerns?
Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
Oh, he played in a lot of movies. He didn't really do a TV series.
I don't think he
much.
did any westerns
Yes.
that I'm aware of. Jack
Yes.
Nicholson?
Yes.
I
Well, I
think he
guess
was
I'm
on
gonna look.
Gunsmoke one episode.
Yeah.
But he wasn't
No,
steady with the TV. He was more
He
steady
did
with the
one where
movies.
they were going to hang him, and this lady came and she saved him, and he
That was a
married
movie.
her. Yeah, the movie.
Yeah, and she had a gold mine.
Yes.
That was the lady that played the girlfriend to Doc on Back to the Future.
Oh,
Yeah, I recognized her right away. They didn't like each other.
Well, what I liked about the
It's a finish.
Wild Wild West.
Jack Nicholson liked her, but she was like,
Yeah. I'm not a fan of westerns. Some people love westerns. I
spaghetti
don't.
westerns.
But the Wild Wild West was more about, kind of like the 007 back in the
Yeah.
West. It almost had almost a science fiction motif to it, or supervillain motif, rather than just
Yeah,
I'm going
it was,
to go.
it was
yeah.
more like a James Bond.
I
kind
liked
of
that.
West.
I thought that was fascinating.
Especially Artemus Gordon's character, how he was able to disguise himself. It's
Yes.
just like Martin Landau's character, when he would disguise himself on Mission Impossible.
Martin Landau, wasn't
Yeah.
he the one that played in Space 1999?
Yeah, but when he
Yes.
was younger, he was one
Oh,
of the
okay.
masterful players on Mission Impossible, the original.
Can you play Mission Impossible?
I could try to figure
I
it out.
love Space 1999. Does anyone remember that
I do.
show? As a big science fiction fan, that was one of my favorites. Saturday night, we've got to watch Space 1999. I loved it. I thought it was a fascinating premise. For you people who don't know, if you could Google this up or whatever, it was fascinating. We had a moon base called Moonbase Alpha. It was a moon base
Yeah.
on the moon. Somehow the moon got thrust far into space.
It was because of the explosion.
Yes.
They had been setting stuff up on the moon,
Yeah.
to colonize that.
Yes.
And they were, and like in any movie, there's always going to be bad guys to try to stop it. Like, for example, Lost in Space with June
Oh,
Lockhart.
yes.
Dr. Smith was
Yes.
originally going to try to sabotage
Yes.
that Jupiter 2.
Yep.
And he programs the robot to destroy
Yes,
that
yes.
ship 8 hours into flight.
Yeah.
See, the premise of Lost in Space, they were going to go to Alpha Centauri and recolonize because the Earth was overpopulated.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other nations that wanted to be the first ones to populate instead of the United States.
Yes, he was a Russian.
And
yeah.
Dr. Smith was sent to
Yeah.
offset the United States from being the first to colonize Alpha Centauri. So he sneaks onto the Jupiter 2 and he programs the robot to destroy
Yes.
8 hours into flight. But what happens is
Is that
Dr.
Roddy the
Smith-
robot?
No, I'm talking about the original Lost in Space.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But Dr. Smith gets trapped into Jupiter 2 right
Yeah.
when it's about to take off. So naturally, he doesn't want to die. Like the bad guys never want to die when they start doing bad stuff. So he tries to reprogram the robot not to destroy it, to save his
Yeah.
own neck. And that's how that series got started. So getting back to Space 1999, when we were talking about bad guys that always try to take over, they were colonizing the moon, and the bad guys, just like Dr. Smith on
Mhm.
Space 1999, they cause an explosion on the moon, which causes the moon to shift the Earth's orbit and float way out into space.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to get the moon back
Yes.
to its position. And that's the premise of Space 1999. And
Was to take him forever.
Barbara Bain and Martin Landau are the main stars. They're the commanders of the ship.
Yeah, that was just an excellent show. I just loved it. There were some that were really frightening. I remember this one 2-parter episode. It even frightened me as a kid. I just loved it though. There were these aliens that came on that wanted to destroy the colony, and they looked humanoid. It turned out they weren't. They looked like these horrible octopus type things.
Well, yeah, but see, you know, no matter what television show you have, it's usually the same plot line. There's bad guys that are going to try to stop something good, and, you know, Dr. Smith, and of course Space 1999. But, you know, I used to watch Space 1999 too. That's a pretty cool show.
Yeah, I loved it.
But you know what I always appreciated about Martin Landau and Barbara Bain was they were husband and wife in real life, so they always did their shows together.
Oh, that's cool.
Starting with Mission Impossible. Barbara Bain's character was Cinnamon, and she was so smooth. They had a scene, like, I have the pilot. I have the original pilot to Mission Impossible, which you'll probably see later on today. And there's a scene where Barbara Bain's character, Cinnamon, has to get this signature, this forged signature. So they're in Costa Rica of all places, so she comes out with this cigarette. She's like, mind giving me a light? And you know, she was so good looking, the guys fall for her looks. And while he's giving her a light, she slips her hand in there and takes one of those little stubs, you know, to forge a signature on there. Yeah, but Cinnamon was so smooth.
Well, the
and Martin Landau's character was smooth too, because they wanted to stop this dictator from shooting off missiles. So Martin Landau, what he does, he disguises himself like the dictator. And then they go and they capture the dictator, and Martin Landau is pretending, you know, when he's giving a speech and stuff. It's just so smooth, just classic James Bond.
Yeah.
Another actor that does that is Sam Elliott. Catherine Ross is his wife.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the movies that he's been in, he brings her along. He's like, you're not gonna be complaining about us make me away from you and all this months of being gone, and I might be cheating with the co-star. You're gonna be the co-star, Catherine. Come on, pack your stuff, let's go. And sometimes she don't want to go with him because she's tired of traveling, you know. But it's comical. But I mean, this way she can't complain and get jealous.
But see, getting back to Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, they acted together. They were together in Mission Impossible. They were together as the commanding team of Space 1999. And I think that's cool when you can be an actor and be married to someone and share the same show. Same with The Young and the Restless. The actor that plays Victor Newman.
Oh, okay.
Eric Braeden, I think is his name in real life. He's married to the actress that plays Nikki, I think in real life.
Oh, really?
I think they're married in real life,
Wasn't Nikki his daughter on there?
No, his wife.
Oh,
They're married and they're divorced and they're married and divorced and stuff, but that's television. Yeah.
I started calling soap operas as the stomach churns.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the soap, what's the name of that show? I was just talking about it just now. Anyway, it's been on Young and Restless. It's been on for about 40 years now.
Yeah.
40 years.
Guinness
Can you
Book World
believe that?
General Hospital's been there for a while too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the original soap operas, they were tame compared to today.
Yeah.
You know.
What do they have on today?
Well, they don't have a whole lot of them anymore. A lot of them have fallen by the wayside over the years, but General Hospital is still on 40 years, and of course this one that I'm playing right now, the theme for the Young and the Restless. But you know the history of this song?
No.
Nadia's
This is called
theme.
Nadia's theme.
I play a little bit of it. Not as good as him, but I play a little bit when I mess around on the piano. My choir teacher used to think in high school, my freshman year, Mr. Barthelmess from Hellgate High, he used to think that I could actually play, and I was just mimicking him. I said, notes to me on a script looks like dead flies on a fence. I don't think I can get that done.
Well, the history of that song,
I know what you're
in
after.
1976 there was a Russian
Chicken
gymnast named
dough.
Nadia Comaneci,
Chicken dough.
and she scored a perfect 10. She's the first gymnast to ever score a perfect 10 in everything she did. And after that triumph, there was a composer that composed that song, and they called it Nadia's theme, and then eventually it was used on the television show The Young and the Restless. So that's
Now
the
she's
history.
doing commercials. Kathy
Yes, I
Ridley's
guess soap
thing.
operas were originally meant. to sell soap and products.
Yeah, that was the
housewives.
original history. They were
Yeah, Kathy
the
Ridley,
plug
too.
soap products at the time, and their plot lines were things like somebody might need heart surgery or something.
Yeah.
It was one of those
That real
kind of
estate
things.
deal.
It's soaps have evolved over the years now, but
Yeah.
at that time they were more basic and plain.
What
Yeah.
was that western that they had the soap?
Western that had the soap.
Yeah.
Well, they have what was called a string of spaghetti westerns with a
Yeah.
young Clint Eastwood, and he would do things like the
Didn't
Good,
soap
Bad, and
operas
Ugly.
usually like plot something at a wedding, somebody's wedding? I'll
Yeah.
get even, I'll be there at the
Yeah,
wedding.
exactly.
In between the wedding and the reception, I will get even.
Yeah. I've always thought soap operas are depressing. I never watch them because of that. They're so grim. It's like the grimmest stories you
They
could
fall
ever
in love
know.
and cheat on each other. That
Yes,
makes no
like-
sense. They're not going to stay in a relationship.
So depressing. It's like, I've seen them. It's like, that's not for me, Good gravy, just, it's not for me.
I used to watch General Hospital, All My Children, and
Dark Shadows.
no, I've seen that one, but no. What's the other one? With the Buchanans.
Well, okay. The
One
one
Life
with the
to
big
Live.
head and One Life to Live.
Yeah.
But see, over the years, soaps have evolved because of our current times, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily recommend people watch soap operas.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Oh, they're trying to
original
imitate the
ones,
Spanish ones.
the original ones were really tame. They were just medical issues at that time. Not all the stuff that's out there today, but there were a handful of them in the 70s. They had daytime television dominated the soaps, but there's only like one or two or three left.
Have you ever seen El Telemundo?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Watch their soap operas on El Telemundo.
I've
America's catching on. They're counting
Here's a
you.
fun song. See if anybody knows this one.
St. Elmo's Fire.
It's either Cheers or Friends.
Nope.
St. Elmo's Fire.
Nope.
Can you do Cheers?
It's the
Let's
cop
do this
show.
one.
Hill Street Blues.
There you go.
Yep. Never watched it.
Hill Street Blues.
I watched it for the grouchy cop. The one that was going to bite people and act like he had rabies all the time.
I've often
His
wondered
name was Frank. Let's be Frank.
if they're gonna make soap operas or something like that, why can't they make it about a person? I've often thought, a person who has a happy life and wonderful things are happening.
Because it wouldn't be fun if it was like that.
I would love it. I would love
I
it.
myself,
I'm not defending soaps, but I'm just
Yeah, I
saying
know, I know.
that's why people watch, because
they want to get some fantasy because they had a number of attorneys recently. It was done by Dateline. They did their own little personal survey and stuff.
Excuse me.
And they had them sit down and watch Judging Amy and a number of,
Yeah.
The Good Wife and that. And they said the majority are not realistic because it is not a pleasurable job always to try to point out that somebody is doing really extremely bad things. And I would not myself, I would not want to be law enforcement in the East Coast.
No, I would not.
I just would not. The closer you get to, and I wouldn't want to work near an airport.
Yeah.
Or a boatport. They can leave that to somebody else. And it's really funny because from over here, everything looks larger, but if you look on the map, when you get in the East Coast, everything's shrunk down, yet there's so much going on you would never imagine. It's so crowded.
Yeah.
I'm surprised people can drive in the streets because it's very
Yeah.
crowded. People are overloading the streets and sidewalks, and no wonder there's hostility.
Yeah.
Just getting to work is a hassle.
You guys missed that whole song.
Well,
there.
that
I
was
just
Law and
did.
Order
Yeah,
SVU.
that was
No, I
that
heard
was
it.
Law and Order.
Yeah.
I've learned
Here,
how
here's
to
another
talk
one. Here,
to
try this
background
one here. See if
music.
anybody knows this one here.
Radios do good.
Recognize it?
Nope, stay. Stay.
Give us a clue.
A dishwasher splashed in a coffee cup?
No?
That's not it, huh?
The hint is Dick Van Dyke. I'll do it again.
Oh, I was going to say Schoolhouse Rock.
No. Somebody knows it? Still
No.
don't know it?
No.
That was a show called Diagnosis Murder. with Dick Van Dyke. Now do you
him and
recognize
his-
it?
Him and his son were on there. His son kind of looks like him, but I think his son looks more like his mom.
Now do you recognize it?
Yes.
No.
I do.
I never watched Diagnosis Murder.
Well,
I watched it because I thought it was going to be
Dick Van
comical.
Dyke's character was a surgeon. It was similar to Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. He was a doctor, but he always got into situations as a sleuth, unintentional. Just like Murder, She Wrote.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was a writer, a published writer.
Right.
But she
Murder
wound,
mysteries.
Jessica Fletcher was a writer, an author. But she wound up getting into situations like a super sleuth, where she would solve a crime because she was a writer. And Dick Van Dyke's character with Diagnosis of Murder was a doctor that got into situations. And
See, Angela Lansbury, she wrote
his son
mysteries
was
and murder stories.
a cop. So that's why that show worked. And it was fun. And that was the theme song. I don't know if anybody will remember that show. I don't know if it lasted very long.
I
but
watched it because I thought there'd be comedy on it because of Dick Van Dyke, but it wasn't.
No, this was more of a serious. It kind of was. It was sort of a comical, serious, like Matlock, you know,
Towards the
Andy Griffith,
Yeah, towards the end it
this
was.
stuff. Let's see if I can figure that out.
Oh dear. I think when I scooped up some of the food, I used a fork that I had eaten off of. I wonder if anyone can eat. Uh-oh.
That's no
Man.
biggie.
Alright,
No biggie.
alright. You sure?
Yeah, it's fine. If I turn into a werewolf, I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
Fine though. We'll see what happens on the full moon.
Because I don't like doing that kind of thing. I forgot. Oh, yeah.
We'll hope
I
you
should've
don't
gotten
have
some
to change
extra.
costumes.
Should have gotten some extra forks and that kind of thing. Okay. Well.
And the conclusion.
I just had too many bills to pay the week before, and then that following week I just wasn't feeling good. So.
That's the thing to Matlock. My version of it, anyway.
Yeah, that's not the broad section, but it does get you there.
Well, yeah, it gives you an idea. And anyway, television was different. They had a slew of soaps for a while. Then they had a slew of those detective shows. And in the 70s, I think television had the most detective shows like Beretta with Robert Blake. Do you remember that?
Mcmillan and Wife.
Yeah,
I
and
watched that one all the
McCloud
time.
with Dennis Weaver.
I like
and of
that
course
one.
the best of them, Columbo with Peter Falk.
Don't
And they had
forget
some other ones like Banachek
Rockford
with
Files.
George Peppard. I used to watch that. They were all pretty much the same.
And they had
Banachek was
Bannock.
like this insurance investigator that would get into
Jim
situations.
Rockford and then
Yeah, let's see if I can figure it out. Let's see.
Rockford Files? Never heard of it.
And Bannock.
I've heard of the X-Files, but not Rockford Files. And I never got into the X-Files. I know I'm a science fiction fan, but it just didn't work for me. And I do believe in all that stuff, but it just didn't work for me. I didn't understand it. I didn't know.
Something like that.
Yep,
That's the theme to Rockford Files.
James Conner.
James Garner, yeah. But you know, my point is television. They seem to, when they start doing themes, it's like all the networks have the themes. The soaps, the detective shows.
Well, you know what's really funny too? The music from those themes, those shows, they always stick with us.
Yeah, they're classic. Let me
More
try
than
that
now.
Rockford Files again.
More than the ones now. I think Emmett on the X-Files.
Yeah?
What it is it was about an agent, a real agent named Chris Carter. In fact, he got in trouble and got chased off. He does put health shows on and off out of Canada now. Because he came up with the millennium, but he was producing it out of Canada, so the FBI couldn't tell him, you need to stop this.
Something like that.
He would use actual cases and fictitiously change the names of the agents and that, but the personalities are the real people, real agents, but they
Something
had
like
to,
that.
they had to protect their identity, they had to change the agents.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah.
They chased him out of America.
Getting back to the detective sleuths, I think of all the sleuths like
Get
Murder, She
Smart.
Wrote, and even Get Smart. I think that
I like
Columbo
that
will
one.
probably be the best. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
I think
He's kind of
people-
like a new Humphrey Bogart.
What was funny about Columbo, he couldn't shoot. He couldn't do any kung
He
fu.
didn't run after
Couldn't
anybody.
fight. Couldn't
Couldn't
run.
run.
Smoked cigars. Drove that crazy car and played with that basset hound. But
Yeah, I was waiting for the card breakdown.
he always could solve a crime and solve it very quickly. That's what I always liked about Columbo. He was very smooth. And I had the pilot to that, the very first Columbo
Oh,
that he ever
really?
had. I have the original pilot in my collection.
Oh, wow.
Jack Cassidy was the murderer in this episode. And, you know, he was probably a nice person in real life, but boy, he had a menacing look on television. He had this sinister, mean look. So they hired him to be the killer to start the pilot, and it worked. Basically, what's his name? The actor that was on Adam 12, Martin, I can't think of his name.
Which
the one that we
one?
just lost. He on Adam 12.
I used to
Martin
watch-
Milner.
Yeah, I used to watch
Well,
that too.
anyway,
My dad liked that.
in this pilot of Columbo, Milner's character was a writer, an author, and Jack Cassidy was like his assistant writer, and Milner's character was doing all the work, whereas Cassidy's character was just taking the fame and the name and everything. And so when Milner decides he wants to go on his own to be a writer, that didn't sit well with Cassidy's character, so he ends up killing Milner, and that was the plot line to the first Columbo episode. And there was this lady that owned a store, and she was interested in Cassidy's character, and she saw them together before the murder took place. So she put two and two together, so she starts blackmailing Cassidy's character, even though she liked him and was interested in him. So he smooth talks her and wins her heart and everything. And right when they're all together, he whacks her. So Columbo had to solve both of those murders. And of course, he goes on to solve them.
You know, Columbo never got hit on by a woman. I didn't notice.
No, he was married.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Did they ever show
And you
his
never
wife?
saw Mrs. Columbo until I think around the end of the series.
Okay.
And Mrs. Columbo was the actress that played Captain Janeway in the Star Trek Voyager. The lady that was the captain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Captain Janeway. Let's see if I can figure that song out.
I never liked
I wonder if she's
Voyager.
done any meat commercials because they'll have an actress or actor on there and say, watch me TV, and they show different scenes with them. Like the kid that's on the Rifleman. He's all going on.
I loved the sequence, like, you know,
Same
the
thing with
space
Robin.
with Voyager, but I
Adam
never
West
liked the series.
It's moved to American
Let me
Dad.
try it again. I'm going to try to figure it out. Let me go over here. Recognize it.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have much imagination on that show. They could have done so much with alien races that I'd never seen or anything, but it was very politically correct. I couldn't
So
get
did
into
you
it.
ever see the movie Alien Nation with Sigourney Weaver?
No, I've seen the movie Aliens, but not Alien Nation.
Alien Nation is a
Something
spin-off
like
from
that. That's how that
What?
went. That
Alien
was the
Nation
thing
is a
to
spin-off from it.
Oh.
That was the
It
thing
might
to
be on
Voyager.
Sci-Fi Network.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Voyager, the
good
Star
network.
Trek series. I think that's the name of that show, Voyager.
Uh-huh.
Captain Janeway.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to see Sci-Fi Network, it's awesome.
Can you imagine Gene Roddenberry's childhood being his parents? He
Yeah.
must have had quite an imagination when he was growing
Yes.
up.
He wrote a series of books. That's where they took the episodes from, you know.
We
Oh.
gotta
And
do
the
this-
movies too.
we got to do this for Emmett here.
Yep.
Same thing with Star Wars. George Lucas, he wrote a whole bunch of books.
Huh.
And then they just decided, well, can you be a director too? He says, a writer?
Yeah.
I think I can.
Yeah, I loved the first series.
I
the
think
best.
Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas, if they had put out a movie, like, you know, space
Yeah.
sci-fi, I think it would have been awesome.
But-
Because they have such a huge idea of what aliens should be
Yeah.
like and everything, you know?
George Lucas did do that. I've read, you know, when I used to have Starlog as a kid, it was a science fiction magazine about science fiction, the making of it. It wasn't that he wrote books. He did make the movie Star Wars. He did the whole screenplay. George Lucas himself did it. He hated screenwriting and screenplays because you have to make a whole page for each minute. But he tried to sell it to so many people in Hollywood and so many
I
others, they
heard.
all turned it down. And so he had to make it himself. And then it
Well,
was a
you
runaway-
know, speaking of that, what you're talking about,
Uh-huh.
that was on the world news. All the people who were supposed to know that movie was going to be a hit got fired by the studios.
Yeah.
Because see, the thing is, and it's not only the studios but music, they don't like to give new people chances.
Yeah.
So they have these blinders on. They just harp on the ones that have
Right.
already brought them success.
Right.
And that's what happened with the George Lucas, you know, when he introduced Star Wars. He got rejected and turned down by the major studios, so he got a small little grant or whatever it was and did the movie, and it made $100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
And all the
first movie,
merchandise.
so all the people that should have done that were fired from the studios.
Yeah.
And see, my point is, not just the music studios, but even in music,
Yeah.
they never give people chances.
Yeah.
I went to Capitol Records when I was in my 20s, and they gave me a tour. You know that circular building in Hollywood area?
Yeah.
And they told me that they won't even consider a person at that time unless they've sold 1 million records. They had this corridor or hallway of people like Paul Simon and these big glass frames and other artists. And these were people that sold like 1 million records. And I'm like, well, how do you get the chance?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
See, here's the thing. They won't give you a chance unless you sell 1 million records, but you can't do those records unless you're part of the union, so it's catch-22. It's like they won't let you be in the union until you sell 1 million.
License with an uninsured car.
But see, they fixed that problem now with the computer age we have, because see, in like what is it? The record company that Herb Alpert had years ago before he sold it, they wouldn't give anybody chances. Capitol Records, Arista Records, you know, they were blocking everybody off. And I want to credit Little Romeo. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Never.
He's a young teenage rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's probably in his 20s now. But his family, they recorded him doing his music, and then they went in their car, and they had a carload of CDs in the back of their trunk out there in the inner city. They were selling all these records, and it worked. And that's how he got way out there. But see, my point is, you know, these days, since the record companies never give people chances, we can make our own. You can go on YouTube now, you can go on LinkedIn. You've got all these entities where you can put your music out there. And if these record companies had the foresight at that time to give people chances, they probably wouldn't have got left out, because they're getting all left out now as far as I'm concerned.
It's like
And it's the same with the movies and the
Well, see, that's why
and
if
I
I
can
made a
relate to that
movie-
too. When I wrote my book, I went through 300 publishers and got rejected by almost every single one of them, which made no sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound
Look at you
arrogant. My book is good.
Yeah, it is.
It's really good.
Actually,
And you know, I had publishers blasting that book, and I didn't take it personal, because I knew that if I got that book out there, it was going to work.
Yeah.
And it finally got out there. And you know what? Oh, we got Pee Wee on guard duty here.
I'm giving her that look. See, if I made a movie, what I would do, you know, I would actually go to the drama department of the college, and I'd find everybody that looks like the celebrities I want, so that way they know that they have a stand-in celebrity in case they don't get their stand-in to come to work that day. So then when I put out my movie, it'd be a bunch of amateurs, but I'd have people that look like Eddie Murphy, or look like James Carrey, or look like Don Knotts or Tim Conway.
And you know, this.
Then they won't have to finish a lot of drama, you know, classes. You know, they can.
Dragnet.
This
oh,
is.
Then they can just go to work right away.
This is why I love MCAT. You can make your own movies here. Many people have made their own amateur movies here, their own shows, like we're making our own show, and bypassing the networks, we can put our own ideas on without a network filter censoring us.
And see, this is true. Not only MCAT, which I appreciate this, MCAT, they give people chances that networks normally won't.
Exactly.
And like like I mentioned earlier, the record companies don't give people chances. So now, you know, there's a market to get your own stuff out. And publishers, bonehead publishers, they won't give people chances. And so now we have the self-publishing, like CreateSpace and all the rest of them will give people chances. And these people are just getting their books out there and they're selling. And so getting back to George Lucas, what it is people have blinders on.
Yeah.
They should have enough common sense to know that some young guy come along there, don't just block and say, oh, we don't want you.
Well, that's what happened to James Cameron, too. You know, he made the movie The Deep with his own money. He was a truck driver.
Yeah.
And his wife was just thinking, oh, you're nuts. Now you want to quit financing the household bills by your job and go be some lunatic director. Oh, sure. Go for it, James. I love you. I won't divorce you yet, but we'll see what happens.
But see, you know, the thing is,
Then
the reason people don't succeed or accomplish their dreams is fear. No, it's not determined. It's fear. They think they're going to fall off the edge of the world if they pursue their dream.
And it also depends
and if
on
you're
who's around
married,
them.
you know, it should be easier if you're married.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is lower your standard of living for 6 months to give it a try.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. We live in a culture where we're spoiled. We have to have our cable with our 200 channels.
I know, yeah.
All they have to do is lower your standard of living for a purpose. For a purpose.
Well, a lot of people
And
do.
it'll work, but women in particular, I'm not going to do that, I don't want to give up my security. What security? You could be a zillionaire and lose it quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So follow your dream.
Yeah.
If I had listened to people, I wouldn't have followed my dream.
Well,
I've got a
they
book
can
out,
be a
I've got
diversion.
television
They can be
shows,
roadblocks.
and a CD and everything.
Well,
And
yeah.
I've done numerous concerts over the years since I was 20 years old.
What I do is I look at the person that's
Stuff like
giving
that.
the advice. If they really are going nowhere in their life and they are constantly
Yeah.
like that, then I just basically say things like, "Oh, my mother's crawling from the grave. I have to go answer
No,
the
but
phone."
seriously, people,
I gotta
all
go.
kidding aside,
See ya.
people are afraid to follow their dreams because
Yeah.
they think they're going to fall off the edge of the world.
Well, everybody does fall
That-
when they're toddlers. You gotta
No,
still
no,
get up and
I
learn how to
mean
walk.
following your dream. If you want to go into sports, do it.
Yeah.
If you want to be an actor, do it. Don't just sit there and listen to everybody tell.
Yes.
And I said this in that documentary that the university did on me. Whenever you have a plan or a goal for your life, there's going to always be those people that are going to spew out venom, say, "Oh, you can't do this. You're not going to make it. You're not going to do such and such." They just always do this. And I don't know why. Maybe it's human nature.
Yeah.
No wonder Michael Jackson's song "Human Nature" was such a hit. But
Do-
no,
do
if
some
you
more
got
Michael
if you got
Jackson.
if you got a goal,
He
do
made
it.
a lot. Michael Jackson made a lot of
Don't
political
listen
songs.
to those, and I'm gonna tell you
with good
from
beats.
experience. Don't listen to those people that are gonna tell you
Yeah.
you can't do it, because when you make it, they're not gonna come up to you and say, "Oh, we were wrong."
No, they're
Yeah.
gonna say,
They're gonna
"Where's my
still-
steak? Where's
they're
lunch?
gonna
Where's
still-
dinner?"
It's a fixed thing. If a person thinks you're a bum before you make it, they're gonna still think the same
Yeah.
thing about you when you make it.
It's
So,
it's kind of like
I always
also,
tell people, don't follow your dream to show this person. Oh, show that person. No,
Yeah.
do it because you love it.
Yeah.
your
Because no
passion.
one's going to be patting you on your back, the ones that don't believe in your work.
Well, it's kind of like when somebody owes you money, right? But then they do something for you and they go, "Okay, now I need you to give me $5 for gas." Yet they already still owe you money.
Yeah.
You see, that's the problem. And a lot of people are skeptics and they're pessimists. You just have to count. So I used to have 2 plans for every plan, so I would get it done. So you could bring up the second plan right away when they're not ready for it. The negative people.
All right, I'm going to
So
play
you do
something.
4 now.
Tell me
4
if
plans.
you've ever heard this song. Let me do it again. Hold on, let me do it again. Recognize it?
It's a woman singer.
Yes.
Is it Mariah or Winnie? Am I getting warmer?
You're getting close. Nichelle Nichols, the actress on Star Trek.
Okay.
She was on an
yes.
episode called Charlie X. Let me do it again. You might recognize it now.
Oh, Centauri. Out to Centauri.
Now you
My
recognize
hair
it.
and my heart out there on Centauri. I remember that. She played that a few times. That was Sulu, not Uhura, the communications officer, Lieutenant Uhura. Yes. Shall we sang that?
Was she a blonde lady?
No, she was.
Yeah, that was. I don't know what the name of that song is, but it was on an episode called Charlie X on Star
Yes.
Trek, where she introduced that song.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it's what you call a regular mainstream song.
No.
But sometimes when I watch television, I'll notice like obscure songs, and I think that's an obscure song. It was just cool how she sang that.
Yeah, they just made it up. It was kind of a futuristic song about being on Alpha Centauri or something. You know?
Yeah.
On it's that Star Trek type of thing. Yeah.
And it's almost time to wind down, y'all. We got about 8 more minutes left. This whole hour just about
I
went by
know.
here, and
So anybody dressing up besides me for Halloween?
Yes.
No.
Ah, she is. But
I had a
you
joke-
guys are chicken. They're
well, I
going
don't
as
really
chickens
celebrate
for
Halloween,
Halloween.
but I told a joke about somebody
Orange
said,
and yellow
"Are you gonna
chickens."
go? Are you gonna go for Halloween?" I said, "I'm just gonna wear my face. That's my Halloween mask." No,
Hilarious.
just kidding.
You're going as a piano player. We
I
know
got
this.
that. I got that joke from Red Fox. You remember that Zephyr's son?
Yes,
He was talking about Aunt Esther being so ugly. He said that was her Halloween mask.
I get that. I got a
Give
quick
that
joke.
show
I'll
a
tell you.
crackle.
Let's see if I can play that real quick.
I got a quick joke I can tell you. There was this New Yorker trying to impress his friends because they all go hunting, and He's never done it. So he went out and got himself a bird dog. Got himself all ready earlier before the sun come up, and he was driving down the road, and he got himself to this great big open spot with a pond and everything. And he sent his bird dog out, and bird dog chased all these ducks that went flying up, and he shot one. Same time, there was an old man sitting by a glass window, rocking back and forth, and then he noticed something falls. Looks like a bird. Could be dinner. So he gets up, walks out the door, and goes pick up the duck. And the other guy, the New Yorker, goes, hey, that's my duck. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, seeing how it land on my property, it's my duck. Well, no, I gotta take this back. I got a trophy for my friends so I can go hunt too.
Something like that. I don't know. I just picked that out.
So what happened then is, so the old man says, well, only way we can decide who gets the duck is we gotta kick each other in the ground, last person standing, and then it gets the duck. He goes, well, okay. He goes, well, since it's land on my property and I'm old, I get to go first. So he had army boots on. So he kicked the guy in the ground. The guy went singing soprano across his eyes and everything. It took him a few minutes. Then he finally pried himself up. He goes, okay, now it's my turn. He goes, oh, now here, you can keep the duck. Happy hunting, people.
Don't quit your day job, Patty.
That was a Buddy Hackett joke from the
I
Tonight
don't
Show.
get it.
Don't quit your day job.
Fascinating.
And on that note, let's sign out of here. And
Actually,
we can
one
start.
looks
We can
fine.
take a break and do show
Yes.
number 2. On My Media Life, we have Teresa Toigo with us today, and our hostess is back, Patty Reed. She's done this
Happy
show.
Halloweeny!
Yeah, I'd rather say Merry Christmas, but that's
Yeah,
not
same
necessary.
2015.
Anyway, we have Patty Reed here. She's our hostess, and our mascot Pee Wee, who's finally
Go
taking a
get
nap
dressed
after
up.
barking on the show. She must have been on guard duty. And finally,
ghosts
on
are
my
in the
right,
air.
our affectionate aging rocker Emmett, and I am Asaph Adonai. So, ladies and gentlemen, until our next show, Maranatha.
Be anything you want to be for Halloween. That's the day for it. Even stretch it a month if you feel like.
Spinning in the dryer.
That's why I wear my X-Men shirt. See, it's multi-talented.